Okay, well, looks like the family is all here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's town hall on this crucial topic, the NAR lawsuit, its impact and implications on our real estate industry. My name is Cliff Long. I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at the Orlando Regional Realtor Association, and I'm very, very, very thrilled to see so many of you here today. Our numbers are increasing, our people care, and we're here today because we care about you. And I'm very, very, very much honored to moderate today's discussion. Now, as the great football coach Vince Lombardi once said, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. That spirit of constant adaptation defines our dynamic real estate industry, which now tackles new challenges head on. That's precisely why your presence here today for this important discussion is so valuable. We're here today to discuss and tackle a timely challenge together. And that's right, we're going to do it together. And that's the impact of the Sitzer-Burnett versus the National Association of Realtors lawsuit settlement. Today's town hall aims to address these adjustments and explore the evolving landscape of the real estate industry. Now, I'm thrilled to be joined by some esteemed panelists on today. We have a wealth of knowledge and experience represented, and I'm confident that they're going to shed the light you need on how the NAR settlement will impact us. Now, to introduce our panelists, first up today, we're going to have Rose Kemp. Rose is the 2024 president of the Orlando Regional Realtor Association. Rose leads the challenge for our local real estate community. Rose has been a leading realtor and a top producer in Central Florida with RE/MAX Town Center since 2000. She's been recognized with awards such as the ORRA Rising Star and the Women's Council of Realtors Entrepreneur of the Year. Rose is a RE/MAX Town Center Lifetime Achievement recipient, and she is also a RE/MAX Hall of Fame member. She serves as your 2024 president of the Orlando Regional Realtor Association and a director for both Florida Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. Next up, one of my favorites, the great, the venerable, the awesome Margy Grant, CEO of Florida Realtors. Margy is the Chief Executive Officer of Florida Realtors, and today she brings her invaluable statewide perspective. If you saw the Florida Realtors meeting earlier today, then you saw the quintessential product. You saw the leadership there. You saw exactly what we're looking for, and that's why Margy is here on today. She's been recognized as an industry leader, making the Swanepoel Power 200 list of the most powerful leaders in residential real estate. Under Margy's leadership, Florida Realtors was named one of the top workplaces in Central Florida and one of Florida Trend Magazine's top 100 best companies to work for in Florida. Margy is also the Advisory Council Chair for the National Association of Realtors, riding with the brand in 2023. And she's a Florida, Massachusetts, and California bar member. Margy joined Florida Realtors in 2005, serving as its Chief Operations Officer and General Counsel before becoming their CEO. Next behind Margy, I want to introduce to you Merri Jo Cowen, the CEO of our very own Stellar MLS. Merri Jo will be here today to share her insights on the systems that connect us all. Stellar MLS is the largest multiple listing service in the state of Florida and Puerto Rico, and the third largest in the United States. Stellar MLS represents more than 84,000 customers throughout Central Florida and Southwest Florida and Puerto Rico. With over 30 years in real estate and 15 years at Stellar, Merri Jo has positioned Stellar on the global scene also, recently speaking at the International MLS Forum in Paris. Stellar has also partnered with Omni MLS, the largest MLS in Central and South America. Thank you all for being here today. Your time and expertise are greatly appreciated, and I look forward to the valuable insights you'll share with us. Now, before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. Many of you viewers out there submitted questions during the registration process. We will be addressing those throughout the discussion. I encourage you to submit your questions using the Q&A feature in Zoom. We will do our very best to get through as many as we can if time allows. We are utilizing Wordly on today, which is a real-time translation tool because we have a diverse audience. Follow along in your preferred language by clicking the invitation link on your screen. Please note that today's session will be recorded and reshared again later. With our experts assembled and your questions ready, I'd like to first turn the floor over to President Rose Kemp to provide some opening remarks and set the stage for our discussion. Rose, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you for that great introduction. And thank you to everybody that's joining us today. This is a very important discussion. And I also want to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists who are sharing their expertise with us today. The recent NAR settlement has certainly been a hot topic, and with good reason. It marks a significant shift in our industry, one that might seem or see as a challenge. But I believe it presents a tremendous opportunity for all of us. Before we dive into the specifics, let's take a moment to reframe how we might view this change. Think about it this way. For a long time, the traditional commission structure had standardizing effect. It established a baseline, but it didn't necessarily reflect the full value of a skilled real estate professional that brings to the table. We bring a lot to the table as professionals. Being a realtor is more than just finding a house or selling property. We are market experts. We help guide clients through complex decisions on years of experience and deep local knowledge. We are skilled negotiators, advocating fiercely for our clients to get the best possible deal. We are trusted advisors who provide emotional support and navigate the intricate legal and financial aspects of the real estate transaction. We are project managers, coordinating a network of professionals such as inspectors, appraisers, and lenders to ensure a smooth closing and a great transaction. In essence, we are the one-stop shop for our clients, saving them time, money, and stress. The settlement puts the focus back on this comprehensive value proposition, allowing us to showcase the unique ways we elevate our clients with the real estate experience that we have. This is an exciting change. Now the spotlight is on what truly sets us apart, our expertise, our dedication, and relentless pursuit of the best outcome for our clients. This is our chance to showcase our incredible value in every transaction. Prior to the settlement, the 6% commission might have functioned as a bit of a ceiling. Now it becomes a springboard. This shift empowers you to differentiate yourself based on your value. Clients who recognize and appreciate your exceptional service, negotiation skills, and market knowledge will be happy to compensate you accordingly. By clearly communicating the scope of your services and the value that you bring, you can justify your fees and build trust with your clients. Outline the specific steps you take throughout the process, the challenges you anticipate, and how you'll navigate through them, and the unique market insights you offer. When clients understand the depth and the value of your expertise, they'll be confident that your commission reflects the significant return on investment you deliver. The good news is you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to go it alone. ORRA is here to support you. We have your back, and your leaders are working hard for you. We offer a wealth of resources, including top-notch negotiation courses designed to help you confidently showcase your value and earn what you're worth. So let's seize the opportunity. Let's rise above the rest and become the go-to choice for clients seeking exceptional service and expertise. Embrace the change and showcase your value. Together, we can make this new landscape a springboard for incredible successes. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. I don't know about you, but she's got me ready to run through a wall and climb a mountain.
Let's go.
And speaking of mountain climbers, Now, up next, we have we have the Sherpa, the one who's climbed Everest for us, the one who's climbed every mountain for us, the one who makes it possible. I want to turn this conversation over to Margy Grant to explore the details of the settlement and the key terms. Margy, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Cliff. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, it is an honor to be here with all of you today. And I can't thank your CEO enough. As my counterpart between him and Merri Jo, the one thing we take tremendous pride in Florida is that we are a partnership at the state and local level, as well as partnering with our multiple listing services, is that we work collaboratively. And one of the greatest parts of this entire journey has been that on the other end of the phone, whenever there was any kind of a development, are these folks for us to say, okay, what are we seeing? What are we hearing? And what are we thinking? Where we all start and stop, though, however, is making sure that in any conversation we have about any kind of business practices, the first thing we always remind ourselves is that our members are competitors. And therefore, in any conversation that we have with regard to business practices, we remind ourselves of the important compliance requirements of the state and national antitrust laws. The Realtor Associations will never set commissions. The Realtor Associations will never endorse a commission structure. Those are independent business decisions of each and every one of your businesses. So we encourage all of you to remind yourself in conversations with your colleagues outside of your firms that you have to be absolutely vigilant to respect and adhere to all of the antitrust requirements. And I know we will here today. So with that, that's kind of my recovering lawyer spiel. For many of you who don't know, I practiced law for 20 years. I'm a recovering attorney. I haven't practiced in about 5 years. But you can take the lawyer out of the girl, but you can't take the girl out of the lawyer. So 3 things I want to kind of just kick off this conversation with, and I would invite Merri Jo or Cliff or Rose to jump in if you have anything to add. And that is, we want to talk about what does this proposed settlement, and keep in mind it's a proposed settlement due to protect the membership. How is it going to immediately require the MLSs to make changes? And what is the new tool that's going to be required for every interaction with a consumer who is looking to purchase a home? So let's first talk about what the proposed settlement offers to do for more than 1 million of our members nationwide. Well, first and foremost, it resolves all the claims pending against the National Association. Right now, there are 20 copycat lawsuits pending across this country. This should resolve all of those claims. In doing so, it also resolves any potential claims against local associations, realtor-owned MLSs, or brokers who have less than $2 billion in residential transaction volume. There is a lot in this settlement. It's very complex. It is over 100 pages long. And so I will assure you that the legal team at all 3 levels of the association and the multiple listing services are spending a lot of time delving into those specifics to make sure that when we do roll out the changes formally, we will be ready to make sure that everybody understands what it is. The biggest thing that this settlement does give in its proposal is it protects all of you individually. Under this settlement, even if you are with a broker that has more than $2 billion in a transaction volume, you are covered. You can no longer be sued under these claims with regard to sellers and the payment of commissions. So that is great news. What does it mean to you day to day? How is this going to change? Well, the person who can probably tell you exactly who is processing the most is Merri Jo, because as the CEO of one of our largest MLSs in the state, she now knows that this proposed settlement has a very specific requirement, and that is that the offer of compensation that has always been required in the MLS will go away. Now, she'll speak exactly to how that's going to look and when they're going to roll out those specific changes. But I will tell you that what it just comes down to is it started with, if you went out to show a listing, you were usually under the impression that if it was in the multiple listing service, there was an offer of compensation to you as the buyer representative. That will no longer be the case. Now, what people are not talking about is all of the options you'll have. Just because it can't be reflected in the multiple listing service does not eliminate the requirement to cooperate with your fellow realtors. Article 3 of the Code of Ethics is alive and well. I want to make sure everybody understands that you are the most unique industry on the planet. You all wake up every single day with the intent to cooperate with your competitor. No one in the world does that. When Coke and Pepsi roll out a new soft drink, they don't call each other and say, hey, let's get together and come up with the best way to market this. No, they lock the doors, they shut the drapes, they say, whatever you do, don't tell anybody anything. Realtors are different. When you get a new listing, the first thing you do is put it into the multiple listing service, because you know that there are capable professional colleagues out there who are working with buyers who are the right buyer for your listing. And by doing that, you bring the parties together. The fact that your offer of compensation won't be in the same system doesn't change anything. Instead, what you're going to go do is you're going to say, okay, 816 Maple Ave is listed by ABC Realty. You're going to go to ABC Realty's website and see, is there an offer of compensation there? Because that's one place where you can do it. The broker ABC can put an offer of compensation, whether it's unilateral, whether it's property specific, they can put that on the internet for everybody to see. I just had a text from a broker in the Panhandle who said, can I put on my website that this is the offer of compensation for every one of our listings? Answer, yes, you absolutely can do that. The other thing that you're going to see is there may be a provision in your transaction where the seller is going to pay the buyer broker. That's another permissible option. So the listing broker can share their compensation, the buyer broker can pay for it. And then there's other things, there's going to be nuances in every transaction that we're going to have to look at to make sure that we don't run afoul of any lender requirements. And all of these things are on our radar. But the cooperative compensation system, the only change is it will not be reflected in the multiple listing service. Now, for any of you who are saying, okay, hold on, what does that mean? I'm not entirely sure. There's one more component I want to make you aware of. If you are working with a buyer, you are now going to be required to have a written buyer brokerage agreement. What word did I not just use there? Agency. There is so much noise nationwide that we need to have mandatory buyer agency agreements. The word agency does not appear in the proposed settlement agreement when talking about these required agreements. It is a required buyer broker agreement. In the state of Florida, by default, we are transaction brokers. And although single agency is alive and well and permitted under state law, most of you are working as transaction brokers. And for any of you who are looking for tools, you know that there's an existing buyer broker agreement in the Florida Realtors Forms library called the buyer broker agreement. And it is not an agency agreement. It is a buyer broker agreement consistent with the transaction broker relationship that is most common here in Florida. So understand there are going to be lots of updates to the Florida Realtors Forms. We're actually going to roll out a new cooperative compensation agreement between brokers to make sure, again, that you have all the tools, products, and services you need. Our goal is that when these changes go into effect, when they flip that switch, you all will be prepared to continue to effectively and productively sell residential real estate cooperatively as you are right now. What is that going to take on your part? Well, first and foremost, you're here. You're here, and that's the most important. You're paying attention because you believe in your industry, and I congratulate you for that. If you haven't taken a buyer broker class, check with the ORRA website. I'm sure they're offering them. They're also being offered for free online via Florida Realtors, and the National Association of Realtors is offering the ABR designation for free. So we are not putting any obstacles in front of any of you to get up to speed on these changes, so you will be ready to go. What's our timeline? The proposed settlement has a very complex, and I'm sure Merri Jo and Cliff will agree, a little bit of a convoluted timeline. What we do know is when we have to, as an industry, shift, and that looks like the end of July. So you are going to see the compensation offer and the multiple listing go away sometime in July, and I'll defer to Merri Jo to talk about those specifics. What I want to guarantee all of you is that Florida Realtors, in partnership with our multiple listing service and our local associations, our delivery date for the new updated forms is May 31st. So we will have plenty of time for you all to adapt to those new changes and the whole thing. One item of note, I know there are brokerages out there that you have amazing staff, and your staff will print out listing contracts, brokerage agreements, and disclosure forms, and you leave them in a stack on a desk because there are still people out there who just love their paper. You got to be really careful that you're paying attention and that you're watching your timeline, and you know that you need to go into Form Simplicity or whatever software provider you use and pull down the newly updated form so you're using the correct forms. So, Mr. CEO, I'm going to pause there and let you defer to one of my co-panelists. But ladies and gentlemen, again, it's an honor to be with all of you. Your appearance here today shows us how committed you are to your industry. There is no one better than a realtor, as your president said, to adapt to this pivotal change. We believe in you, and we know that you've got this.
Margy, thank you so much. And if I could pump Margy one more time, she is not just a wallflower. Margy talks the talk and walks the walk. when this announcement came out about the settlement, Margy and I both were in San Diego, and we were with our peers, every realtor CEO nationwide, learning together what that settlement was about. As I prepared to get on a plane and come back to Orlando, I want all 200,000 people in Florida and the 1,000 on this call to know that I sent Margy a text from the airport. I asked Margy on that day, will she do this town hall meeting? And while I was in the airport, she agreed. Margy didn't run from it. I didn't have to text twice. I didn't have to make 3 phone calls. I didn't have to call the state president to try to twist. Margy, thank you so much for not running from this situation, but running to it and being there for the members of Orlando. We greatly appreciate it. If I had one of those little buttons that hits the applause right now, I would do so, but we appreciate you here in Orlando for not running from the problem, but running to it. Next up is someone else I've had an opportunity to work with very closely throughout my career. And as Margy mentioned, she is the CEO of the largest MLS in Florida and the 3rd largest multiple listing service in these United States of America. I want to invite now Merri Jo Cowen to come and give some remarks and talk about this issue and what changes we can expect to see from the MLS perspective.
Well, thank you, Cliff. And I don't know if I can have the energy of Rose and Margy. It's like, oh no, now the boring one's going to talk. I am so sorry, but thank you for the invitation, and hello everyone. I'm so thrilled to have you here. It's very impressive that so many of you, as has already been mentioned, are here and listening and trying and want to stay on top of things. So I am Merri Jo Cowen. I'm the CEO of Stellar MLS, and again, I'm here to talk about a lot of the stuff Margy has already mentioned, and that is about the impact of these changes on you as our customers at Stellar MLS. And as Stellar, of course, our primary focus has always been to provide you reliable, secure platform for all of you to share information and to facilitate transactions. And while these proposed changes are going to change the way you do your business in some ways, our customers, as you interact through Stellar, just know that we stand behind you. Beyond the offer of cooperating compensation, we are so much more. Just like Rose was saying, you are so valuable. Everything that you do is so critical. The MLS is that same thing. We stand tall behind that. The MLS is more than just the offer of compensation, so much more. And so we know it's going to change the way you do things, but the only change you're going to see is that compensation is going to go out of matrix. We're still a platform to facilitate those sales. We still have the invaluable market statistics, the insights, the tools that you use to work with your customers and your clients, data integrity, IDX website feeds for the list just goes on and on. Everything is going to stay the same. So the settlement, again, to what Margy's already said, offers 3 key takeaways for MLSs. I'm just speaking specifically about MLSs at this point. The agreement does release association-owned MLSs like Stellar. And just as a reminder, Stellar is owned by 19 Florida Realtor Associations. And so therefore, we are covered under this settlement. And we are very, very grateful to have that coming through for us on our behalf through the settlement. So that takes a big concern and worry off of everyone's shoulders about the financial impacts that could have had on Stellar and then therefore maybe on some of you. The other thing are the 2 new practices that Margy's already mentioned. One would be including removing commission offers from the MLS. And again, I just want to say that doesn't mean that compensation is going away. It just means you'll have other tools to find that information. It will be gone, whatever the date that NAR says, boom, this is the date you have to adopt the new rules. We'll be ready. We'll have everything done. We've already started talking with our vendors and all of our partners to make sure that the changes that are necessary will happen in time. And the piece that is the most critical is exactly what Margy just said, is getting everyone prepared, so that it's no huge disruption in your day-to-day. Yes, it's a new concept. Yes, it's going to require a different approach for all of you, but the key piece for us is that the commission, the 3 types that we have, the bonuses, all of those things will be gone from Stellar. And I just want to say out loud that that includes any comments or any remarks that you might want to put in the realtor only remarks or in the public remarks. The MLS cannot be used in any way as a tool to communicate the compensation. That needs to be between the seller and the buyer and the respective agents. The second piece, again, as Margy has already mentioned, is requiring a buyer representation agreement. Now, what we've read through in the notes from NAR basically says before you show a house, you need to have a buyer brokerage agreement. And there are tons of questions that we're getting around all of that. And when those come up, I am happily going to defer those to Florida Realtors, because we are the experts in the MLS piece. We are not the experts like you are, like Rose is, in how you do your business and how you negotiate and how you complete a form and all of those things. Those are the expertise that you all have as realtors. But we know that will be in the rules, that you will have to have a written buyer representation agreement before you show properties. A lot of ambiguity there. We don't really know exactly what that means. People are saying, well, how's the MLS going to enforce that? I don't know that answer to that question yet. There's still, again, a lot of unknowns. But what we do know is these 2 changes are going to have to be made in mid-July. And we are working diligently to implement. We will be ready. We will keep you all updated throughout the process. I'm sure you'll be hearing from Florida Realtors and all of the MLSs that you might belong to and your local association, because we are all committed to making sure that when you wake up on whatever day that is, when the rules change, that you are fully prepared and you are ready. You understand everything that's coming. And again, I know Margy's already said this, but I just want to reinforce that just because the offers of compensation are not going to be displayed in the MLS, it doesn't prevent them from being communicated outside of the MLS. So there's these, we're getting feedback. Well, if the seller can't pay me or this or that, and all of those things, none of that's changed. You'll still do what you do. You'll negotiate and you will you take care of your customers and your clients. That just simply means the data is not going to be in the MLS. Let's see. I think that just understand, I've already said this, but you're going to have to make changes in your daily work. We're going to have to adapt to those for you. And we're just committed to keeping you informed and supporting you hand in hand with your association, with Florida Realtors, with your brokers, with everyone, because we're all in this together. We are partners in this together. I do want to share just really quickly. I know that Florida Realtors has resources on their website. We also have links to theirs and links to the National Association's resources on stellarmls.com/compensation. It will be able to go there. It's just kind of a general place where you can find anything that Stellar has published. You can find links to any kind of information that you could be looking to. And as Margy said before, I have read the settlement from start to finish, and my head spins except for when it says MLS. But there's a lot to be learned out there. So I just appreciate so much, Cliff, the opportunity to be here, and Rose, I thank you too. The other piece that I would say is, we know you know what we know, and that is just really important, because there are so many questions, and we don't have the answers yet, but when we do, we will be there to share all of those with you. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Merri Jo, thank you so much. And again, what a lot of people don't know is all the work that goes on in the background to ensure that we're working together. It's important that you understand that whereas we were all in San Diego together, the Stellar staff was right there with us. And Margy was right there hosting us all, and we were working together to make sure that we had all the information we needed for our people here in Orlando. And Merri Jo and I sat down last week to discuss moving forward, what the implications look like with regards to Stellar. I feel very confident that our two leaders in Margy and Merri Jo have a grasp, or as good a grasp on this as anyone else in the nation, not just Florida. I do mean the nation. Please be reminded, we're going to take some questions here in just a moment. And again, I want to set the ground rules. Margy said it eloquently earlier. Although a settlement has been proposed, it's not official. And there's room for things to change between now and in the foreseeable future in the settlement. Here at ORRA, we have purposefully not tried to be the first to market because we knew that there were things that would come out that were key that weren't going to debut on day one. And so this is one of those situations where being the breaking news aspect of this is not the most important thing. Margy has waited and Merri Jo has waited, and Stellar, ORRA, we waited to hear everyone's perspective. We wanted to hear what was coming out of Chicago, what was coming out of Washington, what other attorneys were saying, what other people were saying around the nation. So now that we have a little bit better understanding, we can move forward, and that's why we offer today's town hall meeting. Now, among my questions, Margy, the first one I'm going to throw at you. And I know that you and Merri Jo, you both said that you read the settlement. I don't want you 5 feet in with this question. I want you 50,000 feet out. What are the key terms of the agreement? Just roughly. You can't get into the minutiae. It's over 100 pages long. But what are the key terms of the agreement? It's the first question that came to me.
So there's 3. One is the release of liability that I covered earlier. 2 is the changes and the removal of the offer of compensation from the multiple listing service, but not the prohibition of any kind of cooperative compensation between a listing and a buyer broker. And then the 3rd is you are now required, before you show a home, the word in the settlement they use is tour. The word tour hasn't been defined, but I think we all kind of understand the intent, is you have to have a written buyer brokerage agreement executed, and there are mandatory disclosures that have to now appear to both a seller and a buyer. And those mandatory disclosures will likely be built into your industry forms to make sure you have that level of protection. So for example, every seller has to be told that the listing broker or seller are paying another broker as part of the transaction. And that will likely be built into the listing contract. So, understand that those are my 3 big takeaways. And we just want to make sure that we provide the products, tools, and services that everybody's compliant, but also that they feel empowered.
Thank you, Margy. And you mentioned the word forms. And this is one of those areas where I'm so blessed that Florida Realtors and Stellar and ORRA, we work together to provide you those forms. Florida Realtors has fought for us for years with the contracts and things of that nature. Everybody stay tuned because, again, she mentioned that on the 31st, there'll be an update to some of the forms. Am I correct, Margy, that you said that?
May 31st, that's correct. That is our projected rollout date.
So everyone stay tuned. May 31st, that's the new rollout date for the forms, and you'll find those within Stellar MLS. And if not, you reach out to us here at ORRA and we can work with you. Margy, thank you so much for that. Now, this next question is a little bit speculative, and I know the attorney in you is probably going to shy away from this one, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because inquiring minds want to know. What were the key factors that influenced NAR's decision to choose the legal path it did for the settlement? Not the water cooler talk, not the one that everyone's talking about. What were some of the key factors that NAR that influenced their decision to choose this path?
Well, first and foremost, this has been an ongoing conversation since 2018. And I do sometimes feel badly that so many people who are probably on this webinar probably heard about this entire situation for the first time a week ago tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And for that, on behalf of your industry, I want to apologize because that's not fun. It's not fun to wake up and to have every news media have incorrect information about the future of your business. And you're sitting at your breakfast table with your children. I have children that I have to answer to as well, who are looking at you saying, what just happened? Like, I will tell all of you that after the verdict, my youngest son, who's 17, walked out of his bedroom and said, $1 billion? What'd you do?
Right.
I said, well, we didn't do it. The jury was wrong. They got it wrong. It was, it was a group of 9 people who made a bad decision. And he literally looked at me and said, are you sure? Because you just got to know, but that's a great reminder to me in that, there are over 200,000 realtors in the state of Florida, and we have an obligation to better communicate how all of this came to be. So, Mr. CEO, what I can tell you and what NAR has told us And what NAR has told us is they looked at every single option in terms of moving this forward and getting all of our brokers out of harm's way, and given the opportunity to not just protect the National Association of Realtors, but to protect every single broker who was under the volume of $2 billion, as well as every single member who worked for brokers, even though they had a larger volume. That was important to them. And they felt that that was too good of an option not to take, even though it meant some pivotal changes in the way we do business.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Margy, for tackling that question. You know, I know there was a settlement, but the initial case had something like $1.5 billion. NAR protected over 1 million members. They protected over 1 million members. And please be reminded that the brand, the R, it's worth more than $1 billion. It's a multi-billion-dollar brand that represents you and the work that you do. And by you, I mean our members in the community every day. And NAR protected that brand. They protected what people recognize you as. They protected the word realtor. So we commend them for doing that. And thank you for being a part of that process. Now, one more, this next question is, this is probably the last one for you right now, Margy. But I've got to throw this out there because people don't understand the law sometimes. So this next question is, would it be considered steering? Can't believe this is a real question. Would it be considered steering if I show only those properties that pay commission? Margy?
Okay, so first and foremost, great question. And it's a common question right now that we're getting. And for any of you who have similar questions to this, I want to take a quick second and throw in a phone number. The Florida Realtors Legal Hotline is available to every single member Monday through Friday. It's a live call center between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4:45 p.m. That phone number is 407-438-1409. And as a dues paying member, you have access to a team of more than 10 attorneys whose full-time job it is to answer that hotline. We answer over 85,000 calls a year. I'm suspecting it might be a little higher this year. But that being said, please reach out to that hotline. We are there for your support, and all 10 of those attorneys are fully versed and ready to help. Mr. CEO, to your question, the answer is, listen, we all have to be extremely careful with regard to all decisions that we make. But the one thing that comes through this proposed settlement in the 100 pages is transparency requirements. What they're telling us is the consumer needs to be informed. So in the event that you have a relationship with a buyer and you are looking for property with them, and you identify a property that you would like to show them, but it's not offer you compensation, and therefore you're not going to work for free, that's okay. But one, you cannot fail to tell the buyer about this property. You have to tell them, can't hide it. And two, you need to tell them that you are opting to not help them with that property because there's no compensation offered. Now, what I want to finish this answer with, because this is really, really, really important. If there's not an offer of compensation, there could be alternative ways to be compensated. That is why we are urging all of you to take a buyer broker CE class or the ABR class, because there's lots of tools that we can give you and we can educate you on to possibly deal with that specific scenario.
Great. Thank you very much, Margy, for that. And Merri Jo, I've got a couple of questions that have come through the hotline for you. Let me pull one up here. It says, how does this affect the existing listing agreements that authorize an offer of compensation to be made in the MLS? Existing agreements. How does this affect the existing listing agreements that authorize an offer of compensation to be made in the MLS?
So not to be avoiding, but I think that's more of a Margy question, to be perfectly honest. Okay. I think what's changing from our perspective is the fact that the MLS, that compensation is not going to be in the MLS. It doesn't mean it wouldn't be in your listing agreement. But I have had a similar question. Is like, are we going to have to go renegotiate all of our existing listing agreements? So I would probably ask Margy if she wouldn't mind jumping in.
Margy, is this one of those situations where you carry on doing what you've been doing until you're told to do something different?
So yes and no. How about that? So as I mentioned, our rollout date is May 31st, when we're going to start to have these new forms available and education materials to help you implement it. Right now, there's no requirement to make a change until probably the end of July, because these changes are going to be directly related to, and this is another great example for all of you as to how Merri Jo and I are partners in all of this. Merri Jo creates the pro-competitive rules that you all abide by in order to effectively collaborate to sell real estate and to make sure you all have the data you need to sell real estate. Merri Jo shares those rules with me and my team, and we create the forms in order to help you facilitate that you're complying with those rules and that you're not somehow in violation of this proposed settlement. So as soon as we have Merri Jo's newly revised rules, and those we'll probably start to get a couple of ideas of what they're going to look like during the upcoming national meetings in May. So once we start to have a look at what those look like, we will have lots of conversations with folks like Merri Jo to make sure that whatever changes to the forms we need, we make. I highly anticipate there will be updates to the listing contract. For any of you who are using the Florida Realtors listing contract, you know that there was recently an update where we removed the mandatory requirement to put an offer of compensation in MLS. So we have actually already made that change. And then obviously that form will change to reflect that there won't be an offer of compensation in MLS. And instead, there will be the mandatory disclosure that I just shared with you to the seller with regard to cooperative compensation and how that's going to get paid, and likely some additional information about what could possibly transpire when another realtor brings us a buyer. So it's a great question, Mr. CEO. It's being asked, a lot. And like I said, is that, right now, Merri Jo, I don't want to say she can't change her rules. She's not going to change her rules yet because she wants to make sure that she's in total compliance with this proposed settlement. And that needs to come from our national association.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to, people are asking again for that legal hotline. And let me give you that number one more time. The legal hotline, but let me recap. This is one of your member benefits. A lot of people oftentimes wonder, what do we get when we pay our dues? When you pay those Florida Realtor dues, you pay those ORRA dues, this is exactly what you're getting, the free legal advice to help you get over the hump. The legal hotline help number is area code 407, telephone number 438-1409, 407-438-1409. And that's the legal hotline. If you have a question, it's absolutely free. You've already paid for it. Give them a call and see if we can get that question answered. So now, Merri Jo, I have another one here that probably is specific to you. One of our members wants to know how long until the offer of compensation field needs to be removed from the MLS. Do you have a deadline? When will that field be removed?
Well, until we know the date that that's required of us to do, all I can say right now is it'll be in mid-July. And what we'll be doing, of course, is letting everybody know ahead of time through some communications what's going to be gone. I mean, this because the impact is going to be it's going to also impact IDX feeds and other data feeds. So there'll be a lot of changes that come from this, but we'll get a list out exactly what fields are going away and what's going to change along those lines. But we will comply with whatever the mandatory date is that we get from NAR.
Okay, I've got one here that Madam President Rose Kemp, this one is going to be for you. One of our members wants to know, since the commission will not be listed in the MLS, will we need to call the listing agent for each showing and wait for written confirmation?
So let's see, to answer that question, I'm going to answer that in two parts. One is, yes, we can always call an agent. That's what we do today. That's what we've always done. We call agents if we don't have information. You can absolutely call the listing agent and ask them if they're going to offer compensation. But with that being said, as we continue to move forward, we're going to continue to get educated and understand any new business practices that can be utilized. And that's why it's so important. The keys to this is stay educated, stay on top of what FR is bringing out, rolling out, NAR, and Stellar. So as long as you stay on top of those communications and get yourself educated, you will understand beyond making that phone call, what are other business practices that we'll be able to implement to help you understand what the compensation is on that listed property.
Thank you,
And Mr. CEO, if I could just
Yes,
tag
please.
on to that. Florida Realtors is releasing a comprehensive slide deck that was incorporated into a presentation this morning. Those will be posted likely by the end of the day today, and they go into that exact question. And for example, one of the things that the lawyers in this slide deck are recommending is if you make that phone call to get that offer of compensation, that you follow it up with an email so you have written confirmation. So in the event you get to closing and someone says, whoa, we did not yet. Yeah, you did. I've got it right here in writing. So, just remember, we always want to be, protecting ourselves. The other thing is, to all of the agents on this call, make sure you are staying in touch with your broker, because your broker may have very specific business practices they would like you to follow through your company. Really, really important right there.
Thank you very much, Madam CEO. So we've got still almost 1,000 people online, and I've got about 137 questions. Guys, I'm not going to get to everyone's question. I'm trying to find the ones that are redundant, and so that a number of people have asked the same question. Listen, I'm making a commitment. I've already told you guys that we will rebroadcast this later for you to see. I'm going to make sure that staff gets these questions out of the chat function, prints them out, and we'll do our very best over the coming weeks. And I do say weeks because some of these won't be relevant a week from now. Some of these won't be relevant a month from now. But we're going to do our very best to find a Q&A, put it on our website, and answer some of these questions if I don't get to yours today. So I want to acknowledge that we see you, we hear you. Yes, ma'am?
So a couple things I do want to address that I'm seeing there's a couple things in your Q&A that I've just seen that there's statements, not questions. And so I just want to kind of clear a couple things up. One of the statements in one of the questions is that the compensation can be shown on like an aggregator, like a realtor.com, or it can be on ShowingTime. No, it cannot. All of those services receive the majority of their data from the multiple listing services. Any entity that's data is based on the beginning at a multiple listing service, they cannot have an offer of compensation. So please don't start thinking that there's some kind of backdoor way that we can do this. And God love all of you. I have heard some of the most original, authentic, incredibly well thought out ideas to try and come up with some kind of, bridge to this. And unfortunately the multiple listing service is one of the most valuable tools we have because of the data. I don't know how many years it goes back, but the data they're able to provide creates a database that allows all of you to not only show the consumer what's for sale right now, but years of property history and increases in value and tax rolls and all kinds of things. If you had to do that by yourself, it would be a 3-day experience, maybe, and you might not even have it right. The other thing the MLS has is they have tools in there that actually look for what we call the oopsies. In the event that you absolutely have something in there that looks like a fair housing violation, or you try and sneak in compensation somewhere, I'm willing to bet we're going to be able to get a tool that's going to help us knock those out to keep you all in compliance. Because the only way we can protect you under this settlement is if we all abide by the rules. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to let all of you know is that this recording, I'm sure the CEO can tell you where you're going to be able to find it. But like Merri Jo said, there are links to everything. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of information from the National Association. So what we encourage you to do is take some time and try and sort through it. The other thing I want to talk about is FHA, USDA, and VA. Lots of misnomers out there. Yes, there is an absolute problem with VA. However, it's not an unsurmountable problem. If you are selling a VA home, a VA loan, if you're selling a home to a VA buyer and you have cooperative compensation the same way you do today, where the listing broker is willing to offer a portion of their fee to the buyer broker, the VA loan can go through. That's completely fine. The only time we run into an issue with the VA loan is if somehow the transaction is going to finance that commission, and that would be precluded under VA rules. There is a letter that went from the National Association in partnership with the Mortgage Bankers Association yesterday to the regulators to basically say, let's protect our buyers. Let's protect our buying public, especially our veterans and active service members. We have these programs because we believe that the dream of home ownership is important, and we want our servicemen and women and our veterans, our men and women, to be able to access this. So I want you to know we've heard you. We know there is an issue, and we are addressing it. But again, legal hotline, 407-438-1409. If you hit that stumbling block, give us a call, and we might be able to help you through it. And again, we have some time to sort this out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take this one myself, and Margy will be able to jump in with me. And I know Merri Jo can co-sign. There's some concern as to whether or not there would be a falling away where people continue to be realtors, be realtor members of the associations. I can tell you right now that here in Orlando, we've had experienced no loss in membership. In fact, I've got new member orientation classes going on right now where brokers are sending their members here to ORRA, 80 and 90 people per class. Real estate is absolutely on fire in Florida, thanks to the work of Florida Realtors and our MLSs. So I don't think that that's something that should be in anyone's minds or heart right now. Margy, we're still projecting growth, or we're looking for growth in Florida, aren't we?
So we still continue to see the licensure number increase, but I will also share with you that we've experienced a resurgence in membership interactivity with the associations, both with the MLSs, the local and the state association. I'm going to go ahead and say this, Florida is different. In Florida, we have always been a very active membership, and you all have partnered with us. And it's why we have such amazing leaders like Rose. And through our volunteer leadership, we are able to enact programming which protects all of you. And whether it was being deemed essential in COVID, which please remember that was a direct result of the National Association getting us added to the Homeland Security list. So we were able to take that list and hand it to our decision makers in Florida for them to adopt. So anytime you think it's not essential to be a realtor, well, did you do business during COVID? Because the Realtor Association, starting on the national level, is what led to that decision where you all thrived. You all literally saved the world during the pandemic because you redefined the importance of home. And then just recently, because I know we always feel like that, well, that was so 2020. I mean, come on, Margy. Just last year, you all collaborated to pass the Hometown Heroes Lending Program, where we have seen 15,000 brand new homeowners, first-time homebuyers here in the state of Florida through that down payment assistance program. That was a program proposed by you, lobbied by you, and fought for by you. So understand you have such a value to your communities and to your homeowners that we love partnering with all of you, and we value your membership.
Thank you very much. Let me see here. I'm looking. There's a lot of questions here, guys. A lot of them. Can I write the conversation? No, anonymous attendee. Can I write the compensation to the buyer agent in the property description text? Absolutely not. But this is a great segue because there are a lot of details regarding this lawsuit. As Margy and Merri Jo both said, absolutely no hanky-panky. Absolutely, we've got to play by the rules. Margy, kind of tell our people just how in-depth the people who are looking at these lawsuits have been. They're looking at our blogs. They're looking at our posts. They're looking at your Facebook posts and your blogs to determine how they build their argument. Am I correct, Margy?
Yes and no. I mean, look, and this is the one thing that drives me slightly crazy, is you can scandalize anything and you can take anything you want out of context. The fact of the matter is the result of the end of this litigation does not in any way reveal, admit, or condone that we have done anything wrong. You all, again, have done nothing wrong. We resolved this litigation and agreed to amend our business practice because it was what was best in the industry for all of you. And so even though we are moving into this proposed settlement, there's absolutely no admission of wrongdoing. And even though, people want to try and scandalize something or one specific example, we have admitted to no wrongdoing. We believe that the current practices are competitive and good for the consumer.
Thank you. Thank you. So I've got about 6 minutes left and 600 questions. So
patience. Everybody remain calm.
So
Patience.
let me go ahead and do that and start wrapping up some of this. So we've learned that the sky has not fallen and that mostly our industry is still very safe. I do want to say that this is a field that most of our commercial agents have existed in for years. And I think that there's a lot we can learn there. The MLS, the forms will change on May the 31st. The settlement has not concluded yet, but it will conclude later on in the summer. Right now, we're starting to make the changes to the MLS and to the forms to steer our population towards remaining healthy. And looks like it's going to be business as usual until the business becomes unusual. I want to take a second and ask Merri Jo, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to give? Anything you'd like to say before we end this call? And then I'll go to you, Margy, then to you, Rose.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Cliff. I think that I just really appreciate this excellent presentation from all different directions and all sides. One of the things that I was thinking about earlier that I really wanted to promote is something that both you and Margy have accented on is I don't want Stellar to be perceived as the bad guy because we have to make these changes. And because as much as we appreciate your entrepreneurial ideas about how we could find another solution within the MLS, we have to play this to the line. So Stellar is not going to be able to allow anybody to add a field to any feed that goes from the MLS. So I just want to clarify that we are here. We will be working closely with everyone together, but and we hear you. We know that this is a big change, and change is tough. But Rose even has said it a couple of times. We will get through this. It is a change to the way you do business, but it's not a change that will cripple your business. So hang in there with us. We'll get through this together.
Thank you so much, Madam Leader. Margy, closing remarks?
Good thing. So on behalf of President Gia Arvin and your entire volunteer leadership team, I want you to know that we remain committed to make sure that effective the July date when these changes go into effect, we will make sure that you have the products, tools, and services to be effective to continue to collaboratively sell real estate. I encourage all of you to read as much as you can. And at the same time, I will share with you that your national and state and local associations are now proactively working to change the narrative in the media. We realize that, if the media can get something wrong, man, they're good at it. And just about every single headline I have seen is inaccurate. So understand that, there's going to obviously be a big learning curve for the consumer, but at the same time, they know your value. They know how important you are. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been through a mortgage crisis. You have been through recessions. You have been through a pandemic, and you have thrived. And I know you will continue to thrive. And I know I can speak on behalf of myself and every colleague statewide, as well as the nation, that I would never not bet on a realtor.
I love that. I absolutely love that. President Rose.
So I just want to say how resilient realtors are. The Orlando Regional REALTOR Association has been here for 103 years. Why? Because we're valuable. And of course, nationally, I believe it's 117 years, but it's because we're valuable. We do so much for our communities. We're advocates for home ownership. We assist people in the biggest decisions they make, the biggest transactions they make. And so with that being said, I am a realtor out there on the field. I know many of our members sometimes believe that, the president and the leadership don't sell real estate. No, we're out there in the trenches. We are realtors that are practicing, and we're out there working with our customers. So we are just like you, having to navigate through these changes, but it's no different than it's ever been. It's just the change. That's all it is. And so as long as you get educated, as long as I get educated, I feel confident that we will get through this and we'll come out stronger, and we won't just survive, but we will thrive. So stay tuned to what your leaders are doing here at the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association. Stay tuned with Florida Realtors, and stay tuned with the National Association of Realtors, and we will all get through this together. We are a realtor family. I believe in the realtor brand. Our leaders believe in the realtor brand. And so just get out there, get to work, business as usual.
Thank you so much, President Rose. I want the population, our realtor family, to know that we have been holding President Rose back. She has been dying to get out there to your offices. She's been trying to make those town hall meetings, and we've been telling her, wait. Let's hear what the legal advice is. Let's hear what the settlement really says. We're going to release President Rose now to get out in the streets and come see you guys and talk. So if you're a broker out there in the community and you like one of our leadership, whether it's Rose or any of her LT, to come out and talk to you, reach out to us here at the association, and we will be glad to come your way. And so I want to thank all of our panelists today for your fantastic insight. Your expertise has been invaluable in shedding light on the NAR settlement and its impact on the real estate landscape. The knowledge and perspective you shared will be instrumental as we navigate this change together. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for joining us today. Even at this moment, we still have over 800 people on this call. Your questions, comments, and active participation have truly enriched this discussion. This topic deeply affects all of us, and your engagement demonstrates the dedication and professionalism that actually define our industry. This settlement presents a turning point in our careers, and yes, there will be challenges to navigate. However, let's not lose sight of the incredible opportunity that we have in front of us. This shift, and that's all it is a shift. It empowers you to truly showcase the unique value that you bring to the table, the expertise, dedication, and unwavering commitment to your client's success. Now, as we move forward, we're saying it over and over, embrace optimism. Change will be good. Change can be good. Embrace optimism and adaptation. Now is the time to lean into our strengths and leverage the resources that you have available. Like the tools we talked about today, the legal helpline and the MLS. The future of our profession is absolutely brighter today than it was yesterday. We're skilled, we're knowledgeable, and we're dedicated real estate professionals. We have a united front and a commitment to excellence. And we not only can navigate these changes, but we will emerge even stronger. Thank you again to CEO Margy, CEO Merri Jo, and President Rose Kemp for your participation. And thank you to all of you for tuning in today and participating. My name's Cliff Long. It has been a pleasure and remains a pleasure to serve you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the Orlando Regional REALTOR Association, and God bless our Florida Realtors.